I looked around the empty room, thinking about how it used to be full of laughter when Alex was here. The glow of pregnancy on my face masked the turmoil within as I read over Alex's last text. He left without knowing I had won the lottery. As I sat alone, wondering why he left, an unexpected call made my phone light up with his caller ID. Alex's voice trembled with urgency. "Emily, we need to talk, it's urgent." And the sound of Alex's shaky voice still echoed in my mind as I laid the phone down. The call was cut off right as he was in the middle of saying something, so I worriedly texted him, hoping for an answer. And as time crept by, I checked my phone almost religiously, having a gnawing feeling that something could be seriously wrong. After half an hour, I decided to call him back. The phone rang 3 times, then 4, and eventually I lost count. Alex wasn't picking up. And I called him again and again, but it was in vain. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. When I finally laid my phone down on the table, I felt a knot in my stomach. Even though we were separated, I knew he wouldn't leave me in such worry. He was too kind to do that to me. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and got in my car. I knew where he lived, I hate to admit it, but I stalked him on Facebook from time to time, so I drove over there, fueled by worry. My stomach dropped when I pulled up on his driveway or his front door was open. My heart raced as I got out of my car, too hurried to even close my car door, and ran inside his home. Alex, I yelled as he ran through his living room, then his kitchen, and eventually stopped at the bottom of the stairs. His shoes were gone, but his jacket hung eerily on the coat rack. Alex was gone, and I was the last person he spoke to. I didn't dare to go up, scared of what I might find. Alex hadn't been himself these last few months, and as I walked up his stairs, my heart almost jumping out of my chest. I regretted not talking to him soon. To my surprise, Alex was nowhere inside his home, not even in the form of a note. I sat down on his bed, catching a breath from walking up the stairs, when I felt my phone vibrating. My eyes grew wide in shock when I saw the caller ID. It was Alex. There was heavy breathing on the other end of the line, and then I thought I heard a whimper. "Alex," I blurted out, my eyes filling with tears. Suddenly, I heard noises from down the stairs, and I remember the feeling of relief washing over me. I can't really describe it, but within an instant, I wasn't out of breath anymore, and I jumped up with ease, running down the stairs, thinking I would see Alex standing at the door opening. But it wasn't Alex, it was my worst nightmare. 2 masked men stood at the bottom of the stairs, looking at me with cold eyes. "I wouldn't run if I were you," one of the masked men said coldly. Fearing falling down the stairs and hurting my baby, I took a deep, shaky breath and walked down the stairs. I had never done something so incredibly scary in my life. "Good choice," the same masked man said as he grabbed my arm. The cold leather from his glove burned in my skin as he guided me to a blacked-out car and placed me in the back seat. The 2 men got in the front and began to drive. Time lost meaning as we drove, but finally the car slowed, turning onto a narrow dirt road. We approached a quaint farm surrounded by fields of tall, swaying grass. The car stopped in front of the barn, its red paint faded and peeling, an odd end to our silent journey. The door next to me opened abruptly, and the less talkative man reached in, his grip firm on my arm as he helped me out. The warmth from the fireplace greeted us as we entered, the cozy room a stark contradiction to my feelings of fear. We were here temporarily, and soon we'd be on the move again. As we reached the backyard, the man who had talked the most gestured towards a weathered shed. "You can call me K." My pulse quickened as K approached the shed, his keys jangling loudly in the quiet evening. He unlocked 3 heavy padlocks that clanked against the wooden door. "Go inside," he instructed, holding the door open. Reluctantly, I stepped into the shadowy interior. I settled onto the rickety bed, trying to keep my composure. As the light faded, the shed grew darker and colder. I wrapped my arms around myself, the thin fabric of my summer jacket doing little to ward off the chill. Shadows stretched across the wooden walls, and the temperature dropped further. Shivering, I drew my legs up, trying to conserve warmth, waiting for what would come next, my thoughts on the fading daylight outside. I jumped at the sound of footsteps crunching gravel outside the shed. Then there was the distinct noise of locks being removed one by one. The door swung open and there stood K, his mask obscured by the dim light outside. He stepped inside, placing 2 thick blankets on the bed next to me. "I'll explain everything in the morning," he said, his voice softer than before. He handed me a tray with food and a bottle of water before he turned to leave, shutting the door gently behind him. I woke up with a start the next morning, not having realized I'd fallen asleep. Beside the bed, a tray with breakfast eggs and toast waited for me. Just as I finished my breakfast, the locks on the door began to click open. Kay walked in, guiding Alex, who looked terrified, his hands tied behind his back. So my heart leaped at the sight of him. "This is just to show you he's okay for now," he said sternly. Gathering my nerves, I stood straight, looking directly at Kay, then at Alex and back. "What do you want from us?" Kay paused, his expression unreadable as he seemed to choose his words carefully. "This is about your new status." What was he talking about? My mind raced, trying to piece together his cryptic clue. Alex's confusion deepened as Kay continued. It's related to recent developments in your life. Kay glanced at me, an eyebrow raised as if prompting me to explain. He clearly didn't know about the lottery I won the day we signed our divorce papers. Laughter erupted from Kay as he caught the tension between us. You never told him you're a millionaire. Alex's eyes widened in disbelief, his mouth opening slightly as if to speak, but no words came. As Kay's words sank in, heat crept up my neck, coloring my face. Why was I embarrassed? Winning the lottery was pure luck, nothing to be ashamed of. Let him go, I found myself saying, my voice firmer than I felt. This is about me, not him. But Kay didn't waver, no, he said simply. And with that, he turned, pulling Alex along with him. The door slammed shut, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a sinking feeling. Moments after the door closed, a scream pierced the quietest scream that I knew belonged to Alex. My heart raced, and panic set in as his cry echoed off the shed walls. Later that afternoon, Kay returned to the shed. He untied me and led me back to the farmhouse, into the cozy yet dimly lit living room. Inside, the living room felt charged with tension. The other masked man, silent up to now, lounged on the couch, absorbed in some TV show. Alex was at the dining table looking desolate with his hands still tied behind him. They directed me to a wooden chair placed oddly in the middle of the room and tied my hands behind it. Sitting there, bound and helpless, the weight of the past hours crashed down on me. Kay broke the oppressive silence, stepping behind Alex with a stern look. So we need you to transfer us the money you won from the lottery. All of it, he demanded, his voice carrying a sharp edge. My heart pounded as I hastily explained to Cone, to Kay, and the others that I had already spent some of the lottery winnings on a new car and things for my unborn daughter. I hoped mentioning my daughter would stir some empathy within them. Kay's immediate response was that I should transfer whatever was left. His readiness to believe me without question sparked a new thought. Why did he not suspect a lie? This shift in his demeanor puzzled me. Could it be so easy to manipulate him? A plan began to form in my mind, though I dared not act OEM. I'll need my phone and my laptop to make the transfer. While the other masked man got up to presumably fetch my devices, I turned my gaze to Alex. He had been quiet, his posture defeated until now. Curiously, Alex seemed somewhat calmer now, despite the grim situation. The door opened, and the other masked man re-entered the room, carrying my laptop and phone, which he placed on the table across from Alex. I started logging into my bank account, my fingers trembling slightly as they moved across the keyboard. I glanced up occasionally, hoping to meet Alex's eyes for some comfort. However, he kept his gaze averted, his eyes fixed on something unseen across the room. His avoidance puzzled me, deepening the worry that knotted in my stomach. As my login screen loaded, I sensed Kay's impatience growing. He leaned closer, watching me. Seizing the moment, I feigned difficulty with the login and asked Kay to help. As he stepped closer, I swiftly reached up and pulled off his mask. Everything unfolded in seconds. As I pulled the mask from Kay's face, recognition dawned. This was Kelvin, one of Alex's closest friends. Just then, other masked men yelled, his voice unmistakable. This wasn't a random kidnapping, it was orchestrated by people we knew, people I had trusted. Stunned, I turned towards Alex, then back to Kelvin, and finally to the other masked man. It came from Kelvin. The other man, now slowly removing his mask, revealed himself as Tom, another of Alex's friends. And you, Tom. These were not strangers, these were Alex's friends, people who had been in our home. When my eyes finally met Alex's, the fear that had gripped me melted away, replaced by a seething rage. He had betrayed me, with his friends, and for what? Money? The thought fueled my fury even more. Untie me, now, I demanded, my voice thick with anger. The rage was bubbling inside me, threatening to overflow. As soon as I was untied, I surged up from the table and slammed the laptop shut. How dare you! Tears streamed down my cheeks as I continued to yell. My words were sharp and smart, laced with betrayal and anger, aimed at the three men who orchestrated this nightmare. They stood there, silent, watching me unravel. The fear and trauma I'd endured these past days, the danger they had recklessly put my unborn daughter in, it was all unforgivable. I stared them down, one by one, my eyes burning with the promise of retribution. You will regret this. I didn't wait for their response. Turning on my heel, I stormed out of the house, my steps quick and purposeful. I grabbed the car keys from the kitchen counter and didn't look back. While driving away, I headed straight to the police station, determined to see justice done. At the police station, I was firm and clear. I pressed charges against all three of them, including Alex. The betrayal cut deep, especially from him. The police took my statement seriously, and an investigation was immediately launched. Not long after, the three men were arrested. Alex, in a moment of desperation, called me from custody, begging me to drop the charges. The trial was grueling but straightforward. With the evidence stacked against them and a competent lawyer by my side, the three men were convicted. They received sentences that matched the severity of their crimes, a suitable end to their betrayal. With the trial behind me, I began focusing on recovery. I started seeing a therapist to work through the trauma. Slowly, with professional help and the support of friends who stood by me, I started to heal. Each day got a little easier, and I found strength I didn't know I had. I'm doing better than ever, I told my therapist one sunny afternoon, finally feeling like myself again. And